ask and you shall receive.
Here he is.
What's up?
Every day, every Friday.
Holla. All right.
So who's hot, who's not? Let's run down the list here. Representative Aaron Regenberg.
Yeah, I gave the representative from the east side of Providence a shout out, showed him some love because he was kind of helping lead the charge to fight the proposed rate hike at the Public Utilities Commission, which was approved, and that's going to increase our electricity bills here in Rhode Island by 16 to 21%. And that's not good, and I think that although the economy is slightly getting better, I don't think that's something that a lot of people are going to be able to afford, and it's going to hurt the economy because that's less discretionary income. So I thought it was really cool that Representative Regenberg was really, leading the charge against this. He had like 600 signatures against it, and that's just one person. So I thought it was good that he was out there, leading this fight, doing something about it, and he's someone to watch in the next year or so because
you did mention that.
Yeah,
you think he's eyeing at a higher position at the State House?
Yeah, I think he's going to run for lieutenant governor. I think that's what he's talking about doing. He hasn't made anything official yet, but he's certainly considering it. So it'd definitely be interesting to see if he actually makes that leap and challenges Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee. It'd certainly be a race to watch because he's the type of person who can invigorate the real left wing of the Democratic Party, and that's been effective here in Rhode Island lately.
Well, we'll see. It is interesting to challenge an incumbent, especially within the same party.
Right.
It'll be very interesting to see. We're in cycle here. We saw the results of Senate District 13 this past week.
Yep.
But of course, all eyes are on 18. So Aaron Regenberg, you had on the hot list.
Sure.
Someone who was here in studio, a young woman, a young talented singer, Gracelyn Rennick.
Sure. Young lady had struggled with Lyme disease as a youngster. She, was born with musical talent, but she kind of fell away from it when she got sick. But she's kind of rebounded, and she's making great music again. She's going to headline the Met Tuesday. So I think that's really awesome. I think it's good for her, and she put on a nice little interview here. So I wanted to give her a little shout out, put her on the hot list.
She was very impressive. If you haven't checked it out, Gracelyn Rennick, just Google it. GoLocal Live, Gracelyn Rennick. She's won national awards. As you said, she's headlining the Met, and as you said, has just that personal story. She's gone through so much. A lot of times, I find that artists, when that happens, they have something, to be creative about. And she wrote some great music, so check out Gracelyn Rennick.
Absolutely.
On GoLocal. Wouldn't it be a hot or not list unless you had some sports on the Celtics? Yeah,
the Celtics pulled off a really cool trade. A lot of people may not like it because we lost fan favorite Isaiah Thomas, shipped him off to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but we got back a superstar in Kyrie Irving, just a tremendous basketball player. Look, I don't think anyone can. We all love Isaiah. He's a really good player himself, but Kyrie Irving is a great player. So this was a good trade, I think, for the Celtics. I think it would move them a step closer to possibly dethroning the Cavaliers, which is where Isaiah Thomas is going. So I thought it was a really creative move.
What do you think about that? The Celtics far better than I. The team dynamic. Wasn't Isaiah Thomas really sort of that team leader? He had that personal story. How does Kyrie Irving fit into that?
Through sheer talent. He doesn't have Isaiah's great, but let's face it, he's a liability on defense. He's only 5'8". People will post him up. They will score baskets on him down in the low post, which is right under the basket. Whereas Kyrie Irving is not, for a basketball player, he's not very tall, but he's 6'2", so he's big enough to be a good guard. And he's just more talented on offense. Neither of them are great defensive players, but I think Irving is a slightly better defensive player because of his height. And I think that he's just one of the best finishers in the game. When you get this Irving the ball around the basket, he's not going to miss. So I think.
So you think he leads by talent?
Yeah, he's too good not to get. Let's put it that way.
Okay,
he's a top 5 point guard in the league.
Okay, speaking of things in Massachusetts, who's on the hot list but Charlie Baker coming here?
Yeah, he's going to headline a fundraiser on Monday here at the Hope Club for the Rhode Island Republican Party. And Governor Baker has consistently been considered, the highest, most favorable governor by his own voters when compared to everyone else in the country, giving favorable or unfavorable grades to their governor. So he's the most favorable governor in the country. I think that a lot of other governors can take a page out of his book and try to lead by building consensus. I think he's really good at that, and I think he'll be able to raise a lot of money for the Rhode Island Republicans. So I think it's hot for them, and it's hot for him. He's hot himself.
Okay, Charlie Baker headlining the GOP fundraiser. Going down the list here, Arthur Solomon and Sally Lapides in Trinity Rep.
Sure, yeah, they've made some big donations to Trinity Rep. They've kept it going, and so they're going to name the artistic chairman position for them. So I think that was really cool. I really am. I really like to see people supporting the arts. So I wanted to give those folks kind of a nod for supporting our culture.
Speaking of arts, we had Anna Gonzalez on GoLocal Live for Almost Dope, the history of hip-hop in Providence.
That's right, yeah. She made a documentary of, like you said, the history of hip-hop in Providence, and it was, I believe it was 8 folks who made their mark in hip-hop over the last 40 years, since the 60s. So I wanted to put her on the hot list there, and they're going to be showing that at the Columbus Theater.
Yeah.
Sure.
So check that out. It was on GoLocal. Again, Google it if you want to find it. Go on our site.
And especially
check
if you
out
like
that interview.
hip-hop.
And especially if you like hip hop. It sounds fascinating. If I have the opportunity, I would love to see it.
Now, are you a big hip-hop fan, or a little bit? You dabble in it?
I dabble, you know.
Yeah.
I am. I would be very interested to see. I know, obviously a lot more national stuff, but we have such a vibrant music scene here.
Right.
That'd be great to know sort of who the local.
See, I like that old school kind of 90s hip hop, so I think I would like this movie. And I think you do too, right?
Yeah, 90s, that old school now. Yeah, we're old. Yeah.
Well,
thanks.
it happens. I mean,
it does happen. Old school in the 90s.
That's right.
Okay, let's go to the not hot list. You have Senator Sheldon Whitehouse.
But we were young in the 90s.
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Okay. Yes, not before I get in more trouble here. All right, Sheldon Whitehouse is, Sheldon Whitehouse is definitely not hot this week. I just feel like if you're going to go around and you're going to make a big deal out of President Trump's perceived racism, and you shouldn't, if you're going to criticize him, you should not belong to a club that's very exclusive and doesn't have any people of color in it. It doesn't jive. It's you're talking the talk, but then you're not walking the walk. I mean, if you go around and you talk about the plight of the poor, but then you only hang out with rich people, it doesn't jive. It's not congruent. It's incongruent. So, look, I understand maybe the senator's a member of this club, and it's just by happenstance that there are no minorities there. Sure, but at the very least, answer the questions and tell us that when we ask you that question. And I think that because of that, he's culpable on a number of fronts here, and he's very, very not hot, at least this week.
Well, we do know, we have talked with folks. Again, I believe it had come up as a campaign issue back when he first ran for the Senate, knowing that it was, in fact, a liability to be associated with such a club, rescinded his membership. Now, his wife is still one of the largest shareholders of the club, so there's a lot of overlapping intricacies here, especially having recognized back about 10 years ago that this could present a political issue. Here we are 11 years later, and it has not gone away.
I don't like clubs myself. I take the Groucho Marx approach to clubs. I wouldn't be a member of any club that would have me. So I'm not big on clubs, so that's enough right there, just that he goes to this place.
You don't need clubs, you just need the racetrack.
Well, if that's a club, I'm a member of that club. And by the way, you brought it up. This weekend is an awesome weekend for horse racing. It's the Travers Stakes, and all the 3 horses that won a Triple Crown race this year, Cloud Computing, Always Dreaming, and Taproot, they're all racing against each other in Saratoga in the Travers Stakes, Midsummer Classic.
Are you going to go to New York?
No, I've got too much going on here, but I will be betting the race.
Are you going to be going to Toronto or Plainfield?
Yes, Plainridge. Yes, one or the other. That's right.
Okay, we know where Russ Moore will be this weekend.
That's right. If you need to find me.
Continuing down the
you need to avoid me. More likely.
Or if you'd like some tips, I mean, he could be your guy.
Yep, hit me up on Twitter. I'll be releasing my picks. I'm going to do it on Twitter.
You're going to do it on Twitter?
I like the Belmont Stakes winner, Taproot. That's who I'm liking in this race.
Well, that's, because when we come back here next week, we can, put you on the hot list to say, if you called it. Can't put you on the not hot list, because, it's tough to call the horses. If you could call the horses.
Or you can get, 15 text messages from me if I'm actually right for once, like during the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, you were hitting me up. I'm like, okay, you're right. Let's keep going down the not hot list. Caroline Kennedy, the granddaughter of Bobby Kennedy.
This is the classic, do you know who I am? I'm going to be loud, I'm going to be obnoxious, I'm going to be unruly, and then when the cops come, I'm going to tell the cops, do you know who I am? I mean, I know she's not from Rhode Island, but it seems like she's from Rhode Island the way she talks. She said, honey, I'm a teacher, and I'm a Kennedy, and I went to Brown.
It was the Brown bomb.
It was the Brown. All right.
It wasn't even I'm the Kennedy bomb, it was I went to Brown.
She went to Brown. But she also said that she's a teacher, too.
Yes.
I'm a teacher, and I went to Brown. That's not hot. That's like the biggest way to turn me off. That's like the worst thing you can do is to name drop so I put her on the not hot list.
Okay, on the not hot list. Let's keep going down here. Speaking of not hot, Louise Linton, the Commerce Secretary, Mnuchin's wife.
Another one, right? What is it with these people? Another one. So she's getting off the her husband's Treasury Secretary of the United States, Mnuchin, and she gets off the plane and she's wearing the Louis Vuitton and all these designer labels, and she gets on, I guess she's taking a page out of the president's book, she gets on Instagram and she hashtags all these designer labels. Yeah, and someone said, oh, it's nice that we could pay for this trip.
Hashtag TJ Maxx.
Yeah, that's my style. So, I mean, so she gets on there and she's like flaunting it, and then someone calls her out on it, and then she basically gives it the old, I'm better than you because I'm rich. So, yeah, she's not hot. I mean, she could buy, listen, she might be able to buy these brand names, but she can't buy class. She doesn't have any of that.
Russ Moore, telling it like it is.
All right.
You know, I had a conversation with Jennifer Lawless down at American University.
Sure.
As we do every Tuesday, I always appreciate her.
She's the best.
She's awesome to get the Inside the Beltway take. And I said, how is this going to play into politics? Louise took her Instagram page, put it on private, which I said I was super bummed about.
Well, at least she's learning.
Certainly would have loved to have followed that.
Right.
But
Guilty pleasure and all that.
Yeah, like what brands is she wearing now?
All right.
But Jennifer pointed out, it could be an issue if Democrats play up the sort of out of touchness of the super wealthy in the the Trump administration. So we'll see if it has any legs moving forward.
The Democrats are going to have trouble doing that when some of their superstars are at Bailey's Beach Club. There's a disconnect here. There's plenty of hypocrisy.
Wait a minute. There's enough hypocrisy to go around.
Oh, my God. We need a new party.
Let's go down the list here. National Grid, not hot. No brainer.
Oh, God. I can't afford their rates. The rates keep going up, and 20%, and that's less money people have to spend. So I put Representative Regenberg hot for fighting them, and I'm putting them not hot for doing this to us, even though they claim that it's really not them. They're just passing off the cost of energy. Yeah. They're crying poverty. I'm crying poverty.
Everybody's crying poverty, but
right.
Wait. Who's got the money?
The people at Bailey's Beach Club.
Oh, it goes back to Bailey's Beach. Let's keep going down the list. ESPN for Robert Lee.
Oh my God! So here's another one, right?
I can't believe this.
Oh, God. They pulled someone off the University of Virginia football game because this sportscaster or commentator's name is Robert Lee. So it's the same name as the famous Confederate general, except this individual is of Asian American heritage. It's just ridiculous. It's political correctness going awry. And when ESPN was pushed on this, they said that we didn't want to subject Mr. Lee to any scorn or any criticism or any jokes on Twitter or on any social media.
I think ESPN ends up being the object of ridicule and scorn for the overkill.
So basically what they're saying is we're letting the trolls win. There are trolls out there and we don't want to give them any ammo, so we're gonna let them win by taking this individual off. I think that's horrible. I've never really liked ESPN anyway, so if anytime I can put them, after what they did to the Patriots, the Deflategate, I've never really cared for them.
Yeah.
So this is just another bad thing that they've done in a long list.
Bad PR move. Bad PR move.
They're good at bad PR. They're good at that.
And so you put the lottery, the poor man's tax, on the not hot list.
Yes. I do not like the lottery because I think it's crazy. I think it's a tax on the poor, people who can't do math, and people who can't do math. A lot of rich people can't do math either. I just don't think it's a good investment, and I think we get all worked up about it, but our chances of winning it are like that of getting hit by lightning twice in the same hour or something like that.
But then you see the woman up in Chicopee get it.
Right, so that's how I want it.
And then you're like, oh.
When I wrote the list, I made sure I said that if anyone I know wins this, I take all this back because I will still have my handout. Yes, I love them. Well, I love them. Even if I just met them once, I'm going to tell them I love them.
How funny were the initial reports that it was Watertown, and then hours later it was like, no, not Watertown, Chicopee. Do you know why?
I do not. Well, I guess it was a slight error. But my question for you, Kate, is:
I played 2 tickets.
Okay, great.
Two tickets.
So hold on. If you won $358 million, how much was I getting? Tell the world.
You get a nice little cut. I do have.
Well, be a little more specific now. I want to know how friendly we actually are here.
I'm going to tell you right now. Can I think about it and tell you next week?
Yes, that'll get people tuning in next week.
This is why I got called Scarlet. I'll think about it tomorrow.
All right.
Okay.
See you next week, and I want to know.
Russ Moore. How much would I give Russ Moore if I won the lottery? We might not have Russ Moore back in the studio next week asking the hard questions. I'm supposed to ask the hard questions. It's always good to have Russ Moore in to talk about the hot or not list. He will have his usual column on Mondays. He's with us Mondays and Fridays on GoLocal. It's good to get him in studio to explain his decisions for who's hot or who's not, because a lot of times people might have questions, and if you have questions for Russ Moore, do reach out.